Hey crew, it's Pitt and I am back with some more ancient lore. Today we are diving back into the works of Dante Alighieri. This is Purgatory from the Divine Comedy. We have done Hell, it is linked up here. We have done several other works in ancient lore that are linked up here, and there are several other resources to check out up here. Uh, we are continuing what appears to be the ascension of the soul, right? This is, in my estimation, coded language for people who actually know how to work magic. So if that's a little bit intriguing, go back and watch the other, at least from Purgatory on. Uh, Hell was a little bit weird, but Purgatory has definitely got some deeper knowledge in it, in my estimation. We are picking apart that deeper knowledge.
We are going to dive into and read from Canto 15 to Canto 20. Right, part of this is vocal therapy. My voice may waver in and out a little bit. If that's too much for you, I completely understand. But we will start in 15. We will read, discuss, read, discuss. Let's dig in and see what's up in the mind of Dante Alighieri. Where we left off was at the very top, right? We were at the crown, in my estimation, right at the crown chakra, but not quite achieving the works that we are receiving, right? The divine is all about what information you are receiving from source, for the crown is. And so it's up to you to take that information and to use it. And so they have got there, but not quite done that.
Purgatorio, Canto 15. All right.
As much as twixt the close of the third hour and dawn of day appeareth of that sphere, which I, in fashion of a child, is playing, so much now it appeared towards the night was of his course remaining to the sun. There it was evening, and 'twas midnight here, and the rays smote the middle of our faces, because by us the mount was so encircled that straight towards the west now were going, when I perceived my forehead
Overpowered beneath the splendor far more than at first, and stupor were to me the things unknown. Whereat, towards the summit of my brow, I raised my hand and made myself the visor, which the excessive glare diminishes. And when from off the water or a mirror, the sunbeam leaps up unto the opposite side, ascending upward in the self-same measure, that it descends and deviates as far from falling of a stone in line direct, as demonstrate experiment and art. So it appeared to me that by a light refracted there before me I was smitten, on which account my sight was swift to flee. What is that, Father sweet, from which I cannot so fully screen my sight that it avail me? Said I, and it seems towards us to be moving. Marvel thou not, if
dazzle thee as yet. The family of heaven, he answered me, an angel 'tis who comes to invite us upward. Soon will it be that to behold these things shall not be grievous, but delightful to thee, as much as nature fashioned thee to feel. When we had reached the angel Benedict, with joyful noise he said, here enter into a stairway far less steep than are the others. We, mounting, were already thence departed, and Beate Misericordes was behind us sung, Rejoiced thou that overcomest. My master and myself, we two alone, were going upward, and I thought, in going, some profit to acquire from words of his, and I to him directed me, thus asking, what did the spirit of Romagna mean, mentioning interdict and partnership? Whence to me, of his own greatest failing, he knows the harm, and therefore wonder not if he reprove us, that we may less rue it. Because are thither pointed your desires, where by companionship each share is lessened. Envy doth ply the bellows to your sighs. But if the love of the supernal sphere should upwardly direct your aspiration, there would not be that fear within your breast. For there, as much the more as one says our, so much more of good each one possesses, and more of charity in that cloister burns. I am more hungering to be satisfied, I said, than if I had before been silent, and more of doubt within my mind, I gather. How can it be that boon distributed the more possessors can more wealthy make therein, than if by few it be possessed. And to me, because thou fixest still thy mind entirely upon earthly things, thou pluckest darkness from the very light. That goodness, infinite and ineffable, which is above there, runneth unto love, as a lucid body comes the sunbeam. So much it gives itself as it finds ardor, so that it, as far as charity extends over, it increases the eternal valor. And the more people thitherward aspire, more are there to love well, and more they love there, and as a mirror one reflects the other. And if my reasoning appease thee not, thou shalt see Beatrice, and she will fully take from thee this and every other longing. Endeavor then that soon may be extinct, as already the two, as are the two already, the 5 wounds that close themselves again by being painful. Even as I wished to say, thou dost appease me, I saw that I had reached another circle, so that my eager eyes made me keep silence. There it appeared to me that in a vision, ecstatic on a sudden I was rapt, and at a temple many persons saw, and at the door a woman, and with the sweet behavior of a mother, saying, Son, why in this manner hast thou dealt with us? Lo, sorrowing, thy father and myself were seeking for thee. And as here she ceased, that which appeared at first had disappeared. Then I beheld another with those waters adown her cheek which grief distills whenever from great disdain of others it is born, and saying, If of that city thou art Lord, for whose name was such strife among the gods, and whence doth every science scintillate? Avenge them thyself on those audacious arms that clasped our daughter, O Pisistratus. And the Lord seemed to me benign and mild, to answer her with aspect temperate. What shall we do to those who wish us ill, if he who loves us be by us condemned? Then I saw people hot in fire of wrath, with stones a young man slain, clamorously still crying to each other, Kill him, kill him. And I saw him bow down because of death that weighed already on him to the earth, but of his eyes that made ever gates to heaven, imploring the high Lord in so great strife that he would pardon those his persecutors with such an aspect as unlocks compassion. Soon as my soul had outwardly returned to things external to it, which are true, did I my not false errors recognize? My leader, who could see me bear myself like to a man that rouses him from sleep, exclaimed, What ails thee, that thou canst not stand, but hast been coming more than half a league, veiling thine eyes, and with thy legs entangled, in guise of one whom wine or sleep subdues? O my sweet father, if thou listen to me, I'll tell thee what appeared to me when thus from me my legs were taken away. And he, if thou shouldst have 100 masks upon thy face, from me would not be shut thy cogitations, however small. What thou hast seen was that thou mayest not fail to hope thy heart unto the waters of peace, from which the eternal fountain are diffused. I did not ask, What ails thee, as he does, who only looketh with the eyes, and see not when the soul bereft the body lies, but asked it to give vigor to thy feet. Thus must we needs urge on the sluggards, slow to use their wakefulness when it returns. We passed along athwart the twilight, peering far as ever, as forward as far as ever eye could stretch against the sunbeams, serotine and lucent, and lo, by slow degrees a smoke appeared in our direction, somber as the night. Nor was there place to hide one's self therefrom. This of our eyes and pure air bereft us. And thus we reach the threshold between the divine and the crown. Now, this is a point of contention for other people, right? There are people who call it by various names, right? There's the Merkaba is one way of referring to it. The soul's envelopment is another, but there are 8 chakras in the body, right? That you have access to. 7 are internal and 1 is external. Now, the external one is fed by all the internal ones. The proper alignment from the base to the crown will allow you to draw energy and push it into the divine, right? The divine is what surrounds you. That's what I call it. I don't really like calling it the Merkaba. That has negative connotations in a way. It is the divine vessel that was given to you. It is your magnetic aura. It is supposed to be an even blend of white and black, right? It is not really white, it's not black, and it's definitely not gray, but it is a combination, perfect balance of those energies. That is because the other 7 colors should be aligning in perfect harmony and giving you both a mixture of the light and the dark, and so that you can do the things that you can do. There are things that you can do. There are rules that must be followed, right? Laws written in soul. I'm not here to condemn you if you don't follow them. I am here to warn you that if you do not follow them, then you will have problems. I am here to warn you that if you don't follow the laws and you don't properly align yourself and do the shadow work and follow the dark night of the soul for yourself, sit in your problems. Figure out where you are making the mistakes, not blaming it on someone else, but doing the background work. Then you get to the point where you're able, right? Everybody can do all of the things. There is nothing special about me as far as I know. Anybody can do what I do. I pray, I fast, and I meditate. I manipulate energy. I do. I manipulate my own energy and some of that outside of me. I manifest things.
I have manifested my voice. The healing that has already happened is a direct manifestation. I am manifesting healing in other ways. I am manifesting other things that are showing results that I can't really show y'all yet. But it's coming. It's got a lot to do with this behind me. That's coming too.
There is a physical application to the process, and you have to be correctly spiritually aligned. That is not to tell you what God you have to follow, what name you have to call them, what practice you have to take in your devotions. But you have to be faithful and true to the creative source that you follow, right? I follow God the Creator. He who was, is, and always shall be. I talk about it a lot, so I'm not really going to dive into it in this one, but He is. He is me, He is you, He is the space between me and you, and He is the space between me and you. He is the Holy Spirit. You have the body, the mind, and the Holy Spirit. That is the Trinity, right? The soul, the mind, the part that makes the decisions. The body is the flesh suit, and the spirit resides in the heart, and it is the part that makes things happen. And so, that is the creative force. That is the part of God that you get access to make things happen, whether it's walking to the door or whether it's creating something in your life. And if you are properly aligned and properly doing the things, then you can use the energy invested in you for your betterment and those around you in an indirect way with permissions, and there's caveats to that, but you can affect your own life in a positive manner regardless. I have other videos where I talk about how to do that, and they are long, so I'm not going to get into that, but they will be linked up here so that if you are interested in how to actually make manifestation happen in your life, I have another video that will be coming. I am working out the mechanics of some things that have been shown to me, but that is coming. But there are these in the meantime that will get you there in a positive way so that you can do it correctly. All right. Purgatory, Canto 16. Darkness of hell and
of a night deprived of every planet under a poor sky, as much as can be tenebrous with cloud. Okay, this is definitely the divine experience.
Sorry, I'm supposed to hold my comments till the end. I've never made unto my sight so thick a veil as did that smoke which there enveloped us, nor to the feeling of so rough a texture, for not an eye it suffered to stay open. Whereat mine did escort, faithful and sagacious, drew near to me and offered me his shoulder, even as a blind man goes behind his guide, lest he should wander or should strike against aught that may harm or peradventure kill him. So went I through the bitter and foul air, listening unto my leader, who said only, Look that from me thou be not separated. Voices I heard, and every one appeared to supplicate for peace and misericord, the Lamb of God who takes away our sins. Still, Agnus Dei was their exordium was, one word there was in all, and meter one, so that all harmony appeared among them. Master, I said, are spirits those I hear, and he to me, thou apprehendest truly, and they, the knot of anger, go unloosing. Now, who art thou that cleavest through our smoke, and art discoursing of us even as though thou didst by calends still divide the time? After this manner by a voice was spoken, whereupon my master said, Do thou reply, and ask if on this side the way upward go upward. And I, O creature that dost clean thyself to return beautiful to him who made thee, thou shalt hear marvels if thou follow me. Thee will I follow far as is allowed me, he answered, and if smoke prevent our seeing, hearing shall keep us joined instead thereof. Thereon began I, with that swathing band which death unwindeth, am I going upward, and hither come I through the infernal anguish. And if God in his grace has me enfolded, so that he wills that I behold his court, by method wholly out of modern usage, conceal not from me whoe'er death was, but tell it me, and tell me if I go right for the pass, and be thy words our escort. Lombard was I, and I was Marco called. The world I knew and loved that excellence at which has each one now unbent his bow. For mounting upward, thou art going right. Thus he made answer and subjoined, I pray thee to pray for me when thou shalt be above. And I to him, my faith I pledge to thee, to do what thou dost ask me, but am bursting inly with doubt, unless I rid me of it. First, it was simple, and is now made double. Be thy opinion, which makes certain to me here and elsewhere that which I couple with it. The world, forsooth, is utterly deserted by every virtue, as thou tellest me, and with iniquity is big and covered. But I beseech thee, point me out the cause, that I may see it, and to others show it, for one in the heavens and here below one puts it. A sigh profound, that grief forced into I. He first sent forth, and then began he, Brother, the world is blind, and sooth thou comest from it. Ye, who are living, every cause refer still upward to the heavens, as if all things they of necessity moved with themselves. If this were so, in you would be destroyed free will, nor any justice would there be in having joy for good, or grief for evil. The heavens your movements do initiate, I say not at all, but granting that I say it, light has been given you for good and evil, and free volition, which, if some fatigue in the first battles with the heaven itself, if some fatigue in the first battles with the heavens it suffers, afterwards conquers all, if well is nurtured. To greater force and to a better nature, though free, ye subject are, and that creates the mind in you the heavens have not in charge. Hence, if the present world doth go astray, in you the cause is, and be it sought in you, and I therein will now be thy true spy. Forth from the hand of him who fondles it before it is, like to a little girl, weeping and laughing in her childish sport, issues the simple soul that nothing knows, save that proceeding from a joyous Maker, gladly it turns to that which gives it pleasure. Of trivial good at first it tastes the savor, is cheated by it, and runs after it, if guide or rein turn not aside its love. Hence it behooved laws for a reign to place, behooved a king to have, who, at the least, of the true city should discern the tower. The laws exist, but who sets hand to them? No one, because the shepherd who proceeds can ruminate, but cleaveth not the hoof. Wherefore, the people that perceives its guide strike only at the good, for which it hankers, feeds upon that, and farther seeketh not. Clearly canst thou perceive that evil guidance the cause is that has made the world depraved, and not that nature is corrupt in you. Rome, a reformed world, accustomed was two sons to have, one which one road and the other of God and of the world made manifest. One has the other quenched, and to the crosier the sword is joined, and ill beseemed it. It ill beseemed it that by main force the one with the other go. Because, being joined, one feareth not the other. If thou believe it, think upon the grain. And for by its seed each herb is recognized. In the land laved by Poe and Adige, valor and courtesy used to be found. Before that, Frederick had his controversy. Now, insecurity can pass that way, whoever will abstain, through sense of shame from speaking with the good or drawing near them. True, 3 old men are left in whom upraids the ancient age the new, and late they deem it that God restore them to the better life. Curado de Palazzo, and good Giardo, and Guido de Castel, who better named is, in fashion of the French, the simple Lombard. Say thou henceforward that the Church of Rome, confounding in itself 2 governments, falls in the mire, and soils itself in burden. O Marco mine, I said, thou reasonest well, and now discern why the sons of Levi have been excluded from the heritage. But what Gerardo is it, who, as sample of a lost race, thou sayest has remained in reprobation of the barbarous age? Either thy speech deceives me, or it tempts me. He answered me, for speaking Tuscan to me, it seems of good Gerardo not thou knowest. By other surname I know him not, unless I take it from his daughter, Gaea. And may God be with you, for I come no farther.
Behold, the dawn, that through the smoke rays out already whitening, and I must depart. Yonder the angel hears, ere he appear. Thus did he speak, and would no farther hear me. And thus ends 16. And this was another interesting one. This is absolutely talking about the intentional choices that we make, right? The taking control. We have seen, in my estimation, the ascension in Purgatory from the base and the unwillingness to move all the way up through the 7 chakras, with a fairly good descriptor for each of them if you have the key to unlock the lock. And then through the divine, the crown into the divine. The divine experience is something that is unique to each particular person, but there are key elements that are involved in all of them, and I can't reveal them to you because then you would create them in your life. But there are keys, there are stories that have been told, and there are things that will happen. There are things that you will recognize once you have had the experience yourself, and I cannot dispense that knowledge to you. I don't have leave for that. But this is an interesting representation of the beginning of the journey into the divine and seizing your greater purpose, becoming the person that you were called to be. One of the things that we talk about all of the time, about how it is your responsibility once you are aware of the situation. And once you have had the enlightenment experience and walked out the other side of it, you are changed. And if you are not changed for the better, you are changed for the worse. And that is absolutely a possibility if you are not ready for it. It can be overwhelming. It can be dangerous in a sense, but not really.
It can it can empower and enable you to do things. And so it can amplify the things that are done in a manner that is definitely covered in the laws. And so you should be careful once you have reached the point. But once you have reached the point, then you're at the point of responsibility. And if you have been to the point, then you know what I'm talking about. But the beginning of the journey is described here. It is the meeting and the discussion and the forgiveness, the unknotting of the anger, it's a matter of fact, and the beginnings of the understandings of the motives of others is the beginning of the divine experience. And that's as much as I can talk about on that.
Let's talk about Purgatory, Canto 17.
Remember, reader, if ever in the Alps a mist overtook thee, through which thou couldst see not otherwise than through its membrane molle, how, when the vapors, humid and condensed, began to dissipate themselves, the sphere of the sun feebly enters in among them, and thy imagination will be swift in coming to perceive how I resaw the sun at first that was already setting. Thus, to the faithful footsteps of my master, making mine own, I issued from that cloud to raise already dead on the low shores. O, thou, imagination, that dost steal us so from without sometimes that man perceiveth not, although around may sound 1,000 trumpets, who moveth thee if sense impel thee not? Moves thee a light which in the heaven takes form, by self or by a will that downward guides it, of her impiety, who changed her form into the bird that most delights in singing. In my imaginings appeared the trace, and hereupon my mind was so withdrawn that within itself that from without there came nothing that then might be received by it. Then reigned within my lofty fantasy one crucified, disdainful, and ferocious in countenance, and even thus was dying. Around him were the great Ahasuerus, Esther, his wife, and the just Mordecai, who was in word and action so entire, and even in this image burst asunder of his own self, in fashion of a bubble, in which the water it was made of fails. There rose up in my vision a young maiden bitterly weeping, and she said, O queen, why hast thou wished in anger to be naught? Thou hast slain thyself, Lavinia, not to lose. Now hast thou lost me. I am she who mourns mother at thine heir, at another's ruin. As sleep is broken, when upon a sudden new light strikes in upon the eyelids closed, and broken quivers ere it dieth wholly. So this imagining of mine fell down, as soon as the effulgence smote my face, greater by far than what is in our wont. I turned me round to see where I might be, when said a voice, Here is the passage up, which from all other purposes removed me, and made my wish so full of eagerness to look and see who it was that was speaking. It never rests till meeting face to face. But as before the sun, which quells the sight, and in its own excess its figure veils, even so my power was insufficient here. This is a spirit divine, who, in the way of going up, directs us without asking, and who, with his own light, himself conceals. He does with us as man doth with himself, for he who sees the need and waits the asking, malignly leans already towards denial. Accord we now our feet to such inviting, let us make haste to mount ere it grows dark, for then we could not till the day return. Thus my conductor said, and I and he together turned our footsteps to a stairway, and as soon as the first step I reached, near me perceived a motion as of wings, and fanning in the face, and saying, Beati pacifici, who are without ill anger. Already over us were so uplifted the latest sunbeams, which the night pursues, that upon many sides the stars appeared. O manhood mine, why dost thou vanish so? I said within myself, for I perceived the vigor of my legs was put in truce. We at the point where no more ascends the stairway upward, and were motionless, even as a ship which at the shore arrives. And I gave heed a little, if I might hear aught whatsoever in the circle new. Then to my master turned me round and said, Say, my sweet father, what delinquency is purged here in the circle where we are? Although our feet may pause, pause not thy speech. And he to me, the love of good remiss, and what it should have done is here restored, and plied again the ill-belated oar. But still more openly to understand, turn to me thy mind, and thou shalt gather some profitable fruit from our delay. Neither creator nor a creature ever, son, he began, was destitute of love, natural or spiritual, and thou knowest it. The natural was ever without error, but ere the other may be evil object, or by too much, or by too little vigor. While in the first it well directed is, and in the second moderates itself, it cannot be the cause of sinful pleasure. But when to ill it turns, and with more care of lesser than it ought, runs after good, against the Creator works his own creation. Hence thou mayest comprehend that love must be the seed within yourselves of every virtue, and every act that merits punishment. Now, inasmuch as never from the welfare of its own subject can love turn its sight, from their own hatred all things are secure. And since we cannot think of any being, standing alone, nor from the first divided, of hating him is all desire cut off. Hence, if discriminating I judge well, the evil that one's love is of one's neighbor, and this is born in three modes in your clay. There are who, by abasement of their neighbor, hope to excel, and therefore only long that from his greatness he may be cast down. Jealousy. There are who power, grace, honor, and renown fear they may lose because another rises. Then they are so sad that the reverse they love. And there are those whom injury seems to chafe, and so that it makes them greedy for revenge, and such must needs shape out another's harm. This threefold love is wept for down below. Now of the other will I have thee here, that runneth after good with measure faulty. Each one confusedly a good conceives, wherein the mind may rest, and longeth for it. Therefore to overtake it each one strives. If languid love to look on this attracts you, or in attaining unto it this cornice, after just penitence torments you for it. There's other good that does not make man happy. 'Tis not felicity, 'tis not the good essence of every good, the fruit and root. The love that yields itself too much to this above us is lamented in three circles. But how tripartite it may be described. I say not that thou seek it for thyself. And so ends 17. Okay, so we're going through the vices here. We had anger. Anger is red. Anger is base. We have jealousy. Jealousy is yellow. Jealousy is the sacral. And so again, we are mounting the stack. That's what it appears to be to me. We will see where this goes. Are we going into the orange and the hunger? Let's go. Canto 18. An end had put unto his reasoning the lofty teacher, and intent was looking into my face if I appeared content. And I, whom a new thirst still goaded on without was mute, and said to him, Perchance, the too much questioning I make annoys him. But that true father who had comprehended the timid wish that opened not itself, by speaking gave me hardihood to speak. Whence my sight is, master, vivified. So in thy light that clearly I discern whatever thy speech importeth or describes. Therefore I entreat, sweet father dear, to teach me love, to which thou dost refer every good action and its contrary. Direct, he said, towards me the keen eyes of intellect, and clear will be to thee the error of the blind, who would be leaders. The soul, which is created apt to love, is mobile unto everything that pleases, soon as by pleasure she is waked to action. Your apprehension from some real thing an image draws, and in yourself displays it, so that it makes the soul turn unto it. And if, when turned toward it, is she inclined, love is that inclination, it is nature, which is by pleasure bound in you and you. Then, even as the fire doth upward move by its own form, which to ascend is born, where longest in its matters it endures, so comes the captive soul into desire, which in a motion spiritual, and never rest until she doth enjoy the thing beloved. Now may apparent be to thee how hidden the truth is from those people who ever all love is in itself a laudable thing, because its matter may perchance appear to be good, but yet not each impression is good, howbeit good may be the wax. Thy words and my sequacious intellect, I answered him, have love revealed to me, but that has made me more impregnant with doubt. For if love from without be offered to us, and with another foot the soul go not, if right or wrong she go, 'tis not her merit. And he to me, what reason seeth here, myself can tell thee, beyond that await for Beatrice, since 'tis a work of faith. Every substantial form that segregate from matter is, and with it is united, specific power has in itself collected, which without act is not perceptible, nor shows itself except by its effect, as life does in a plant by the green leaves. But still, whence cometh the intelligence of the first notions? Man is ignorant, and the affectation for the first allurements, which are in you as instinct in the bee, to make its honey. And this first desire merit of praise or blame containeth not. Now that to this all others may be gathered, innate within you is the power that counsels, and it should keep the threshold of assent. This is the principle from which is taken occasion of desert in you, according as good and guilty loves it takes and winnows. Those who, in reasoning to the bottom went, were of this innate liberty aware, therefore bequeath they ethics to the world. Supposing then that from necessity springs every love that is within you kindled, within yourselves the power is to restrain it. The noble virtue Beatrice understands by the free will, and therefore see that thou bear it in mind, if she should speak of it. The moon, belated almost unto midnight, now made the stars appear to us more rare, formed like a bucket that is all ablaze. And counter to the heavens ran through those paths which the sun sets aflame. When he of Rome sees it, twixt Sardis and Corsicans go down, and that patrician shade for whom it is named, by Aetolum more than any Mantuan town had laid aside the burden of my lading. Hence I, who reason, manifest and plain, in answer to my questions had received, stood a man in drowsy reverie. But taken from me was this drowsiness, suddenly by a people that behind us our backs already had come round to us, and as of old Ismenus and Aesopus. Beside them saw at night the rush and throng, if but the Thebans were in need of Bacchus. So they along that circle curved their step, From what I saw of those approaching us who by good will and righteous love are ridden, full soon they were upon us, because running moved onward all that mighty multitude, and two in the advance cried out, lamenting, Mary in haste unto the mountain ran, and Caesar, that he might subdue Ilerda, thrust at Marseilles, and then ran into Spain. Quick, quick, so that the time may not be lost by little love. Forthwith the others cried, for ardor in well-doing freshens grace. O folk in whom an eager fervor now supplies, perhaps delay and negligence put you in well-doing through lukewarmness. This one who lives, and truly I lie not, would fain go up, but if the sun relight us, so tell us where the passage nearest is. These were the words of him who was my guide, and some one of those spirits said, Come on behind us, in the opening shalt thou find. So full of longing are we to move onward, that stay we cannot, therefore pardon us, if thou for churliness our justice take. I was San Zibo's abbot at Verona, under the empire of good Barbarossa, of whom, still sorrowing, Milan holds discourse. And she has one foot in the grave already, who shall ere long lament that monastery, and sorry be of having there had power, because his son and his whole body sick, and worse in mind, and who was evil born, he put into the place of its true pastor. The more he said or silent was, I know not. He had already passed so far beyond us. But this I heard, and to retain it pleased me. And he who was in need, every need my succor, said, Turn thee hitherward. See, two of them come fastening upon slothfulness with their teeth. There we go. All in rear of all they shouted. Sooner were the people dead to whom the sea was opened, than their inheritors the Jordan saw, and those who the fatigue did not endure unto the issue with Anchises' son, themselves to glory, to life without in glory offered. Then, when from us so separated were those shades that no longer could be seen, within me a new thought did find entrance, whence others many and diverse were born, and so I lapsed from one into another, that in reverie mine eyes I closed, and meditation into dream transmuted. And so ends 18. And this is the continuing meditations and the overcoming of the sexual energy, going up into the wanton energy. Well, I am not in agreement with the alignment here, right? What we just went into should be higher in the stack. Slothfulness is not, it's the not doing of the things, and it's not really the desire, right? You have your base needs, you have your sexual needs, and then you have the hunger. The hunger is more along the lines of greed than it is slothfulness. And so then you have the love anger mix, like, so I'm not really in tune necessarily. This is listing out the sins, so but I'm not necessarily in alignment with the order. Canto 19. It was the hour when the diurnal heat no more can warm the coolness of the moon, vanquished by earth or peradventure Saturn, when geomancers their fortuna major see in the orient before the dawn, rise by a path that long remains not dim. There came to me in dreams a stammering woman, squint in her eyes and in her feet distorted, with hands dissevered and of a sallow hue. I looked at her, and as the sun restores the frigid members which the night benumbs, even thus my gaze did render voluble her tongue, and made her all erect after. Even thus did my gaze did render voluble her tongue, and made her all erect thereafter. In little while, in the lost countenance, as love desires it, so in her did color. When in this wise she had her speech unloosed, she began to sing so that with difficulty could I have turned my thoughts away from her. I am, she sang, I am the siren sweet, who mariners amid the main unman. So full am I of the pleasantness to hear. Love and lust, huh? I drew Ulysses from his wandering way into my song. Lust is lower, though. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I drew Ulysses from his wandering way into my song, and he who dwells with me seldom departs, so wholly I content him. Her mouth was not yet closed again before appeared a lady, saintly and alert, close at my side to put her to confusion. Virgilius, oh Virgilius, who is this? Sternly she said, and he was drawing near with eyes still fixed upon that modest one. She seized the other and in front laid open, rending her garments, and her belly showed me. This waked me with the stench that issued from it. I turned mine eyes, and good Virgilius said, At least thrice I have called thee. Rise and come. Find we the opening by which thou mayest enter. I rose, and, full already of high day, were all the circles of the sacred mountain, and with the new sun at our back we went. Following behind him, I my forehead bore, like unto one who has it laden with thought, who makes himself the half arch of a bridge. When I heard say, Come, here the passage is, spoken in a manner gentle and benign, such as we hear not in this mortal region. With open wings, which of a swan appeared, upward he turned us, who thus spake to us between the two walls of the solid granite. He moved his pinions afterwards and fanned us, affirming those qui illugent to be blessed, for they shall have their souls with comfort filled. What aileth thee that to the ground thou gazest? To me my guide began to say we both somewhat beyond the angel having mounted. And I, with such misgiving makes me go, a vision new which bends me to itself, so that I cannot from the thought withdraw me. Didst thou behold that old enchantress whose soul above us henceforth is lamented? Didst thou behold how man is freed from her? Suffice it thee, and smite earth with thy heels, thine eyes lift upward to the lore that whirls the eternal king with revolutions vast. Even as the hawk that first his feet surveys, then turns him to the call and stretches forward, through the desire of food that draws him thither. Such I became, and such, as far as cleaves the rock to give way to him who mounts, went on to where the circling doth begin. This is the third to me. On the fifth circle, when I had come forth, people I saw upon it who were weeping, stretched prone upon the ground, all downward turned. Ad haceat pavimento anima mea, I heard them say with sighings so profound that hardly could the words be understood. O ye elect of God, whose sufferings justice and hope both render less severe, direct ye us towards the high ascents. If ye were come secure from this prostration, and wish to find the way most speedily, let your right hands be evermore outside. Thus did the poet ask, and thus was answered by them somewhat in front of us, whence I, in what was spoken, divined the rest concealed. And unto my Lord's eyes mine eyes I turned, whence he assented with a cheerful sign to what the sight of my desire implored. When of myself I could dispose at will, above that the creature did I draw myself, whose words before had caused me to take note, saying, O Spirit, in whom weeping ripens, that without which to God we cannot turn, suspend awhile for me thy greater care. Who wast thou, and why are your backs turned upwards? Tell me, and if thou wouldst I procure thee anything there whence living I departed. And he to me, Wherefore our backs the heaven turns to itself, know thou shalt thou. But beforehand, scius quod ego fi successor Pietri. Between Siestri and Chiaveri descends a river beautiful, and of its name the title of my blood its summit makes. A month and little more essayed I how weighs the great cloak on him from the mire who keeps it, for all the other burdens seem a feather. Tardy, woe is me, was my conversion. But when the Roman shepherd I was made, then I discovered life to be a lie. I saw that the heart was not at rest, nor further in life could one ascend, whereby the love of this was kindled in me. Until that time a wretched soul and parted from God was I, and wholly avaricious. Now, as thou seest, I here am punished for it. What avarice did is here made manifest, in the purgation of these souls converted, and no more bitter pain than mountain has, even as our eye did not uplift itself aloft, being fastened upon earthly things, so justice here has merged it in the earth, as avarice has extinguished our affection. For every good, whereby was action lost, so justice here doth hold us in restraint, bound and imprisoned by the feet and hands, so long as it pleases the just Lord, shall we remain immovable and prostrate. I on my knees had fallen and wished to speak, but even as I began, and he was ware, only by listening of my reverence. What cause, he said, has downward bent thee thus? And I to him, for your own dignity. Standing, my conscience stung me with remorse. Straighten thy legs and upward raise thee, brother, he answered. Ere not, fellow servant am I with thee, and with the others to one power. If ever that holy evangelic sound which saith Neque nubent thou hast heard, well canst thou see why in this wise I speak. Now go, no longer will I have thee linger, because thy stay doth incommode my weeping, with which I ripen that which thou hast said. On earth I have a grandchild named Algia, good in herself, unless indeed our house malevolent may make her my example, and she alone remains to me on earth. And so ends Canto 19, and this is avarice, which is pride. Again, I don't necessarily agree with the ordering in the stag, but that's okay. That is more of an ego, third eye type thing. Not taking the will and doing with it what you're supposed to do, but instead doing what you want to do is pride, and that is directly related to the third eye. And so, again, I don't necessarily agree with the stag, but the listing is fine. The history is interesting, and some of it is lost in translation, but for the most part, yeah, set aside your pride. Purgatory, Canto 20. Ill strives the will against a better will. Therefore, to pleasure him against my pleasure, I drew the sponge, not saturate, from the water. Onward moved my leader through vacant places, skirting still the rock, as on a wall close to the battlements, for that they through their eyes pour, drop by drop, the malady which all the world pervades, on the other side too near the verge approach. Accursed may thou be, thou old she-wolf, that more than all the other beasts had prey, because of hunger infinitely hollow. O heaven, in whose gyrations some appear to think conditions here below are changed, when will he come through, whom she shall depart? Onward we went with footsteps slow and scarce, and I, attentive to the shades, heard them, piteously weeping and bemoaning them. And I, by peradventure, heard sweet Mary uttered in front of us amid the weeping, even as a woman does who is in childbirth. And in continuous, how poor thou wast is manifested by the hostelry whereas thou didst lay thy sacred burden down. Thereafter I heard, O good Fabricus, virtue with poverty didst thou prefer to the possession of great wealth with vice. So pleasurable were these words to me that I drew further onward to have knowledge touching that spirit whence they seemed to come. He furthermore was speaking of the largesse which Nicholas unto the maidens gave, in order to conduct their youth to honor. O soul that dost so excellently speak, tell me, who wast thou, said I, and why only thou dost renew these praises well deserved? Not without recompense shall be thy word, if I return to finish the short journey of that life which is flying to its end. And I'll tell thee, not for any comfort I may expect from earth, but that so much grace shines in thee, and ever thou art dead. I was the root of that malignant plant which overshadows all the Christian world, so that good fruit is seldom gathered from it. But if Douai and Ghent and Lille and Bruges had power, soon vengeance would be taken on it, and this I pray of him who judges all. Hugh Carpet was I called Capet, was I called on the earth. From me were born the Louises and Philips, by whom in later days has France been governed. I was the son of a Parisian butcher. What time the ancient kings had perished all excepting one, contrite in cloth of grey. I found me grasping in my hands the rein of the realm's government, and so great power of new acquest with with friends abounding, that to the widowed diadem promoted the head of mine own offspring was, from whom the consecrated bones of these began. So long as the great dowry of Provence out of my blood took not the sense of shame, 'twas little worth, and still it did no harm. Then it began with falsehood and with force, at the rapine, and thereafter for amends took Ponthieu and Normandy and Gascony. Charles came to Italy, and for amends a victim made of Conradin, and then thrust Thomas back to heaven for amends. A time I see not very distant now, which draweth forth another Charles from France, the better to make known both him and his. Unarmed he goes, and only with the lance that Judas jousted with, and that he thrusts so that he makes the paunch of Florence burst. He thence not land, but sin and infamy shall gain, so much more grievous to himself as the more light such damage he accounts. The other, now gone forth, taken in his ships, see I his daughter sail, and chaffer for her, as corsairs do with other female slaves. What more, O avarice, canst thou do to us, since thou my blood so to thyself hast drawn, it careth not for its own proper flesh, that less may seem the future ill and past. I see the flower de Lucy Alagna enter, and Christ and his own vicar captive made. I see him yet another time to write it. I see renewed the vinegar and gall, and between living thieves I see him slain. I see the modern pilot so relentless. This does not sate him, but without decretal he to the temple bears his sordid sails. When, O my lord, shall I be joyful made by looking on the vengeance which, concealed, makes sweet thine anger and thy secrecy? What I was saying of that holy bride of the Holy Ghost, and which occasioned thee to turn towards me for some commentary. So long has been ordained, O all our prayers, as the day lasts. But when the night comes on, contrary sound we take instead thereof. And that time we repeat Pygmalion, of whom a traitor, thief, and parricide made his insatiable desire of gold, and the misery of avaricious Midas, that followed his inordinate demand, at which forevermore one needs but laugh. The foolish Achan, each one then records of and how he stole the spoils, so that the wrath of Joshua still appears to sting him here. Then we accuse Sapphira with her husband. We laud the hoofbeats Heliodorus had, in the whole mount and infamy encircles. Polymonester, who murdered Polydorus, here finally is cried, O Crassus, tell us, for thou dost know what is the taste of gold. Sometimes we speak, one loud, another low, according to the desire of speech that spurs us to greater now and now to lesser pace. But in the good that here by day is talked of, erewhile alone I was not, yet near by no other person lifted up his voice. From him already we departed were, and made endeavor to overcome the road, as much as was permitted to our power, when I perceived, like something that is falling, the mountain tremble, whence a chill seized on me, and seizes him who to his death is going. Certes, so vilely shook not Delos before Latona made her nest therein to give birth to the two eyes of heaven. Then upon all sides there began a cry, such that the master drew himself towards me, saying, Fear not while I am guiding thee. Gloria, in excelsis Deo. All were saying from what near I comprehended, where it was possible to hear the cry. We paused, immovable and in suspense, even as the shepherds who first heard that song, until the trembling ceased and it was finished. Then we resumed again our holy path, watching the shades that lay upon the ground, already turned to their accustomed plaint. No ignorance ever with so great a strife has rendered me importunate to know, if erreth not in this my memory. As meditating then I seemed to have, nor out of haste a question did I dare, nor of myself I there could aught perceive. So I went onward timorous and thoughtful. And so ends Canto 20, and that's where we're going to wrap this one up. This is interesting. We did indeed complete the entire stack. We did indeed begin the divine experience and start dealing with making sure that that is correct. Going through these sins, balancing them with the vices and the virtues, balancing those out. That is part of the divine experience, right? You begin it when you're doing your stack. That is an absolute necessity. But the actual completion of that is in the divine work, right? After you have worked through the shadow, then you get to work with the balance of the light. That is how the mechanics of it work. That is something that I'm working on how to explain better, and this is absolutely helping with that. There are steps to take. There are things to do. There are paths and procedures that are fully open to you, and they have been controlled by the control systems. I am absolutely amazed that this type of information made it out even in coded form. I really am. This is rather useful, right? I'm not entirely sure that hell was, right? I would have to go back and look at it again with the lens, and I'm not going to do that yet. This, however, is absolutely in line with the things that I say. Maybe not exactly as I say them, but it is dealing absolutely with the same thing. So there is definitely knowledge in Purgatory. We will continue with 21 and on. In the next episode, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Hopefully, I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a very difficult set of topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I have a tendency to step on toes when I convey those. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. I am merely doing what I am told to do in my walk with the divine. Hopefully, I did not give you the wrong pearls, but that I gave you the pearls that you can use. If you like what I'm doing here, let me know down below. Hit me with a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. Let me know what you appreciate. Let me know what you don't. If you really like it, hit me with the super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pit Steak. Peace.